Well, folks, hello. First time it is not that I did a video of movie reviews or anything that I'm talking about. Well, this movie I'm talking about is called Yongary. How the heck did you have two movies Yongary, right? Actually, what it is like one of those Godzilla ripoffs from South Korea. The main thing is the first movie back in 1967. It was like Tochi is a little kid, and then they will find that this monster like a half dinosaur, half rhinoceros kind of thing, right? But then they set him in the Middle East, somewhere in the Middle East, in a spaceship, and then comes and attacks Korea and stuff, you know. And one thing is that he lights up his horn right there, like a rhino horn, you know, the rhino tusk. Well, and then he destroy, and then all he does is dancing around with the laser, but then he get destroyed by somebody, a scientist making a chemical made out of ammonia. That's kind of right. Cheesy effects, but better picture quality than Godzilla. You know, like why? I think they used the Kodak film. You know, because that's what it is. That's the only difference. But the plot of the story is well told, even though it is better picture quality than the old Godzilla movies from the 60s and stuff. But you know, and then after we see the remake called Yongary or Reptilian, you have a British actress, American and Canadian actors doing the role of attacking some monster out of a space alien, right? It's done in Korea also, but you know, CGI kind of cheesy, right? Cheesy CGI. It ain't the same as this Godzilla that we made here. You know, I'm just saying Godzilla has the better effects compared to the Yongary. The Yongary has an effects from the Godzilla from 1955 or 56 when Raymond Burr was starring in the first Godzilla film, right? Maybe it's for the US version of the 1954 Godzilla movie, right? But in a way, why not have it this way? You know, I think if they could remake a Yongary again, I think Yongary could kick Godzilla's ass. You know, Godzilla versus Yongary. Yongary kicks Godzilla's ass for the first time. You know, first time Godzilla get his ass kicked by Yongary. That means something in between Fox Korea and Toho to make a collaboration to see what happened nowadays. That, you know, like they make a remake. This Yongary goes to Seoul, and then Godzilla comes there. Godzilla get his ass whooped by Yongary. You know, that will be a good one. Godzilla versus Yongary. Godzilla get his ass kicked for the first time by Yongary. But anyway, when they mock Godzilla in that 2001 1999 Yongary, that says, "Oh, Godzilla is a pussy." What a mock. Well, it might be true if they make a Godzilla versus Yongary. Yongary kicks Godzilla's ass. You know, being very powerful and stuff. But a remake of the Yongary, mine as well. It has to be make it a plot like similar to the Godzilla thing, right? Because I saw the 1998 Godzilla. It is garbage compared to the, I don't know about the 2012 to the 2014 one. The Godzilla from now, you know, we have Godzilla Wars. Final Wars is very great effects and everything, all awesome. Better CGI than reptilian or Yongary, the latest one. But this new Yongary could be, it's about this. It's about a lizard, and you know, have some eating some leftovers of a rhino and stuff, and a lizard, you know, eating toxic nuclear waste from a worst explosion in Buffalo, New York. After it hits Buffalo, New York, it went to the falls. When it went to the falls, and then this is a whole different story. The 1998 Godzilla is garbage. You know, they don't make Godzilla like it is, but it's fun to watch. The 1998 Godzilla got his ass kicked in Godzilla Wars. I mean, Godzilla Final Wars. But then you can make this new Yongary. I don't know when. It could be between Fox Canada and Fox Korea in collaboration to make it. You know, it is that this lizard, you know, we have from nuclear waste, you know, atomic waste from somewhere, from there. The lizard pass, you know, they have some plant over there in Buffalo, New York, of toxic nuclear waste, and then this lizard is consuming nuclear waste. It's consuming nuclear waste, and why does lizard grow up and, you know, past the falls? He passed the Niagara Falls, cross the border, and where would this Yongary attack today? He attacks Toronto. You know, what if this Yongary attacks Toronto? It will be better effects, better than Godzilla, and, you know, I mean, the Godzilla that we have now, better than Godzilla, and, you know, everything is that he could fight a monster. After he could fight a monster, you could make it Yongary versus whichever monster come up there. But this guy, you know, Godzilla versus Yongary could be the just a Korean spoof off to see, you know, just a spin to the Godzilla series that says, you know, Godzilla's turn is over. You know, Yongary kicks Godzilla's ass in Korea. Yeah, you know, Godzilla ain't crap, and then turn it around to this Yongary that have a remake that is a lizard going out between nuclear waste in Buffalo, New York. You know, like somewhere in secret agency where nuclear waste is in Buffalo, New York, and some nuclear power plant they blow up to, or, you know, it's just contagious, and they have the Buffalo nuclear or disaster that they have, that people from Buffalo, New York going out, and then this lizard eat the rest of a dead rhino in a zoo, in a Buffalo zoo. You know, that's what it is. They kill the rhino, and then the lizard go pass by the falls, go to Canada, and then attacks Toronto. After he attacks Toronto, and then he might face other monsters, bigger bears and other. This could be put in a twist, a little bit of the Godzilla time is over. You know, put Yongary in the list, and then Yongary, you know, Godzilla fights in Japan, but this Yongary, he fights in Canada. You know, he fights against any space monster or whatever it is, and, you know, make it more like cool, like you'll have like Fox Studios, their Canadian division, make more money out of the Yongary franchise. You know, like both of them, even the first one from 1967 started in Korea, but this is just like Yongary versus Yongary versus the sea monster or whatever. You know, the atomic monster. You know, Yongary is like a lizard. You know, out of this nuclear explosion from Buffalo, New York, he just comes by and passing through the border. He attacks Canada. This is what this new Yongary series could be, and then Yongary in there could fight whatever monster, and that's what it is. It's just, this is like, I was thinking of this, you know, it could be, that's a good idea. Have Yongary fight either one, but first Yongary have to kick Godzilla's ass in Korea. You know, that means Yongary films, all of them made by Fox Canada, Fox Studios Canada, and like this is where Yongary fights in Canada. like they have another monster like Cloverfield. I remember Cloverfield. How are you gonna see the monster's face? But Yongary versus, you know, the atomic monster versus whatever, you know, that could be a good series. And starting with the Yongary versus whatever the series, it could be, you know, thanks to Hollywood, or thanks to what is the 2014 Godzilla attacking the US. That would be crazy. But this time, you know, you're using, this is kind of silly. Two films, one film in the 60s in Korea, another one using Western actors, but they have just blow up the plot. But this is just going, Yongary could do is to go and be this guy that attacks, this monster that attacks Canada, that is a lizard that captured nuclear waste from a nuclear power plant explosion in Buffalo, New York. You know, there's just, he passed by the border, by the Niagara Falls, and then after that, making all the Yongary versus whatever monster series. And I think it'll be awesome to have a young Gary. You know, young Gary, eh? put it that way. Like he could, even a young Gary could face Godzilla again, but this time they're facing the 1998 Godzilla, or this Godzilla, you know, going to Canada. And what it is, I know this is just remake the young Gary and make Canada his fighting ring. You know. That's it. So peace out. Write a comment on what you think of bringing young Gary, and young Gary have to fight any monster, because in this young Gary I see them fight a monster. But that was very clever for the beginning of having young Gary, that young Gary could kick Godzilla's ass in one movie, and then young Gary attacks attacks Toronto, and young Gary's go ahead. He fights any monster in Canada, you know? That's it. So, goodbye and peace out.